All right, let me start with quick introductions. I'm Sachin. I have about 25 years of IT experience, and my company Joe Software is an end-to-end technology solution provider for businesses across the globe. Today on this interesting webinar, we have got two experts, Christopher, or Chris as he likes to be called, and Jitendra, or Jitu as he likes to be called. Christopher is the co-founder and CEO of Tamarind Strategy Solutions and a digital transformation therapist himself. Jitendra is a CEO and co-founder of eMachine Labs and a seasoned IT practitioner. Having said that, I would hand it over to Chris and Jitu to start this interesting conversation. So over to you, Chris and Jitu.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored to be a part of this during this innovative time in technology. Myself, I go back more than 25 years with regards to assisting enterprise organizations get as much value out of their technological decisions as possible. In the last 9 years, I've been the CEO of Tamarind Strategic Solutions. We focus on mission critical communications, helping organizations minimize risk while improving profits. And as a digital therapist, just like any other therapist, I believe in stepping to where the clients are to help them develop it, their needs as far as their picture of success as they define it. So that's why I'm a digital therapist. So I'm going to hand it over to Jitu now.
All right. Yeah, thank you. So thanks, Sachin, for the intro. But just I'll share a little bit more about myself. I graduated as software engineer like 25 years back. And even after almost quarter of the century, I still think and believe that I'm still a software engineer, although I have played many roles. Now I'm a founder of eMachine Lab, which is a low-code AI-based low-code platform, and that comes from my passion around the software. Along the journey for last 20 plus years, I have played very technical sales, account management, customer. You can say customer services, all kind of that, but where actually kind of my heart is closest to the software, because and that's really kind of really translate into this platform which we have built. That comes from what I truly believe that the software is something which can solve. Actually, it can solve people's problem. It can solve business problem, communities problem, and there is nothing more interesting than. At least for me, and I know a lot of people who share the same belief and passion. So that's all about me, and let's just get it going. And feel free to, if someone wants to interject or ask any question, we can keep it interactive. Chris, over back to you.
So my job, when I work with guys with G2, is to take complicated technical matters and make them easily digestible for the C-suite. That's what I do. I take it complicated, I make it easy to translate it to the things that matter. And what I'm going to focus on, and the nature of it, is going to be speaking to the CEO. How do you discuss this to a CEO? And not have to be an expert, because I'm not an expert. I'm just a committed fan and passionate about the possibilities of what this technology could do. If someone were to ask me what low-code technology is, I simply tell them, it is shorthand for coding. It is in any language when you can sit back and minimize something to shorthand, you can expedite the creation process. So starting from there, I will start the conversation and move it to a couple of slides, not too many, that I think will give a good arching overview, and more importantly, how it can be used. Because the most important part is to unlock the power of low code, no code, and revolutionizing development. These are the conversations that I have with CEOs that I would share with you with regards to how low-code technology, how shorthand in development can assist a company or an organization, and in the language that the CEO cares about. CEOs care about these 5 following things: reduction of costs, increasing productivity, improving customer experience, reducing risk, and increasing profits. So any conversation about any technology eventually will have to go into these buckets for it to be seen as viable. Achieving the CEO's goals with low code. When someone asks me about low code, I call low code a powerful accelerant with regards to realizing digital transformation initiatives. It does not inherently change the business. It accelerates what the vision and the level of business savvy that organization can come up with to have it come to fruition to the marketplace. The cost and reduction. A brief example of what low code can do is traditionally many digital transformation initiatives take upwards of 9 months to create, start to finish. Low code technology has the ability to minimize that to as little as 9 weeks. If you have a picture of drag and drop with regards to what low code is, that's how it's easier. Many websites can now be built in a drag and drop manner. That's what low code technology is. It just accelerates things within that organization. Productivity increase. What that means is the productivity increases within an organization when you have an organization moving to a digital presence. The ability to minimize the timeline to complete an initiative from 9 months to 9 weeks, you're talking about a tenfold increase in your productivity. What that means to a CEO is a more agile organization. That's what organizations care about. In addition to that, I call low code the front door to adding structure to unstructured data. Many organizations have a great deal of risk through two things. That is not keeping track of actionable data and manual processes and human error. Low-code technology is a powerful tool, a building block, once again, an accelerator in the aggregation of actionable data. It's the front door of it. And just like an algebra equation, touching those buckets increase profits. And you increase profits, but just as importantly, profits today, but going forward. So it's not just acquiring the customer, the client, it's keeping them. A great example of enhanced customer experience are conversion rates. Many organizations, when you visit their website, track how it gets converted. That's just an example of the type of conversations that you can have within an organization with the CEOs based on how low code can be leveraged within an organization. Any questions, comments, or concerns so far? Okay.
I think these are, good points, Chris, you have put forward. But I think, Jitu, if you are able to share a little bit basic on, what you started off with, that what low code is all about, because these are the questions that most of the folks try to answer, that what low code is all about. And, then it actually translates into what Chris is trying to explain, that how it is going to reduce the cost and, going to bring it kind of a profit margins can increase, and so on and so forth. So Jitu, I think it will be very interesting to hear from you. Since you have already built an AI-based low-code platform, I think it will be very interesting for everyone to understand, what exactly low-code is.
Yeah, okay. So I was thinking, instead of talking about my platform, I don't want to make it a kind of platform selling kind of exercise, more of a knowledge sharing and perspective sharing. The way I look at, I started this journey almost 4 or 5 years back, definitely 4 years back. And I myself learned that why it matters to people. I had it a few years back, I even had the doubt, is it going to be even viable? But let me just put in a more historical perspective. I got an opportunity to be exposed to an automotive market. And I kind of like that because everyone can relate to that. In the past, especially I'm talking about the automotive manufacturers, those businesses relied on the traditional craftsmanship, to create their product, car or automotive mobiles and everything. And the success of those businesses really depended heavily on the skills and the expertise of individual craftsmanship. Fast forward to present, now we see businesses that leverage modern manufacturing processes. These processes use machinery, automation, your standard components, to streamline the production. Now, imagine or maybe make an analogy that the craftsmanship is your traditional coding. And this new machinery, automation, standardization is your low code. If I just go put the analogy back, while there may be a lot of, may not be a lot of level of customization at the traditional craftsmanship. So, and I'm not saying that the low code is really going to replace the old way or the traditional coding. No, it will, in my belief, it will never replace. But you cannot ignore it. This is going to be part of your business. It's going to be part of your maybe day-to-day life in future. Going back to this very similarly, how it is in the world, I mean, it's in the world of software development, the traditional coding, actually, you can link it with your, craftsmanship. Now, let's say if I take, I don't know if it's going to be a perfect example. Rolls-Royce, Bugatti, Lamborghini, they are still handmade car. If it takes up to almost 2 weeks to add leather to the vehicle's interior. The wooden veneer itself in the car is shaped from the same tree. That's the traditional coding. It will never go away. But the problem is that the Bugatti and Rolls-Royce, they produce only 4,000 to 5,000 cars in entire year. Whereas Toyota produces 6,000 cars in 1 hour. Toyota is using the low code. If I'm making the analogy, they actually process the componentize or created the automation around that so much that you can actually really mass produce that. Now come back to the world of software. Whereas maybe 10 years back, there are like only very select people. Like I would say, if I really go to the business percentage wise, maybe less than 10% people were actually using the software. Now that percentage is almost crossed like 70%. And the number of application and software solution built by individual companies have kind of multi-folded. You cannot really afford to actually really produce that much of software solution with your traditional coding. And now with the advent of this AI, low code is the future for a major part of that. Can you really build the most advanced application with the low code? I have my doubt and reservation. Maybe not. Maybe it will never be. But I would say the majority of where you want to really accelerate the prototype, you want to do the experimentation, you want to do the role-based kind of application, where you want to maybe sometimes you want to try something, you want to fail early, try early, test the water. You cannot afford to spend like millions or maybe let's say hundreds of thousands of dollars, or maybe spend 6 months in doing that. Can you do that in just 1 week with some kind of a magical tool? And those magical tools are actually the low code platform. So this is how we actually put in the perspective what low code is all about and how it is kind of going in a parallel in almost a necessity and the kind of need of time where we are in right. Yeah, I'll just take a pause, but I think this is the
No, that was fantastic. That was fantastic. It provided a fantastic context. And once again, I'm usually speak to non-technical folks, but what you just articulated, I tell folks that the combination of low-code technology and Gen AI is to the knowledge worker, has the ability to be to the knowledge worker what the assembly line was to the factory worker. You just articulated the ability to scale one's efforts. And one of the terms that we use is called citizenship development and niche development. So now when you talk about operational costs, once again, you're paying so much for these these coders, these highly specialized developers. You want them focused on the most important things, the more mundane things, the manual friction that may exist, which is huge. One of the conversations I have is I tell a CEO, you give me 5 hours of interviews with certain stakeholders, I will find you 50,000 hours of lost hours, time bandits, which can impact the product development process, the sales process. And so it's like an octopus that could go every part of the organization. The end result is having a really large organization on the outside, but profoundly agile on the inside, because it's the initial initiatives, but then it's the maintenance of the initiatives. It's what do you do in 8 months? What do you do in 9 months? And how do you turn this big battleship? And yeah, a lot of these organizations are leveraging low-code technology to become far, far more agile and taking their best talent and load sharing and designating it. So this also impacts the buy versus build dynamic within organizations. Do we want to take this on ourselves? Do we want to source it with a partner? So thank you for that. There's a far-reaching implications of that context you just shared. So if it's okay, and please keep sharing that. I'm going to go through a couple of more slides with the context. So the guidelines with having these conversations. So here are a couple of tips and strategies. And where I come in is usually the development of business cases or use cases. Whatever software conversation you're going to have, you're going to have a 3 to 5x return attached to the talking points we discussed earlier. My approach is usually develop 5 use cases. 3 of them are viable, usually. While emphasizing transformation, what low code allows you to do is to go after quick, easy wins. One of the things that impacts a lot of digital transformation initiatives is everyone thinks so big and this over this long period of time, and many times the project doesn't even hit the mark because things have changed over the years they've been trying to build the solution. This gives you quick wins to allow you to map it to existing processes. Once again, and in becoming a core component of a digital transformation strategy. So with that, I did not want to have a lot of slides. I wanted to make sure we facilitate the conversation over what it is, how we have these conversations with the business unit owners. The CEO is the term that I'm using, but what it really is the business unit owners. And there's different ways that low code technology will impact what's important to them. The head of operations will have a different nature of conversation with low code technology than the chief growth officer or the revenue officer, who will have a different conversation with the CFO. Who have a different, but all of which you have to aggregate to have the conversation with the CEO. So there are different conversations in a dynamic manner, and low code technology is the foundation to develop value within the framework of digital transformation in each one of those C-suite business unit stakeholders. And so with that, I want to share the floor, see if Sachin or Jitsu had any additional comments or statements.
I do actually. Both of you interestingly mentioned about, quick wins, getting something done pretty quickly. So does that mean that we cannot use low code for, a production application? Let's say I have something that I want to build. Can I not use it for that? That's a question, as a CEO or as a business that, strikes my mind.
Absolutely,
So,
you can. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. No, I was going to say, usually if I have access to CEO, I tell them to get me a manual form. The first thing is get me a simple manual form, and let's build this. I make certain it doesn't touch too many places, not too high profile, something very simple, very easy. What I then do is I have the interview to understand the flow chart, the touch points, how many people are touching it, how long it takes, and I put a process flow chart together. Then I'll take the same process, offer a suggestion with regards to what low code can offer them. So many times I'm taking a process that no one even thinks about. This isn't high profile, low profile, that may have touched 12 different individuals and it's manual. And all of a sudden you have a 4-step process where you're adding structure to unstructured data and you're starting to gather information that you never even had before. So so that's where I would position. I call it quick wins or beachhead, scenario. But that's the approach that I've taken in the past. I'd love to hear how G2 would do the same.
Yeah. So first of all, I think I completely agree with Chris. And to answer your question, you can actually make completely professional, commercial grade application. There is no doubt about that. It's just sometimes you actually make the choice what is the level of complexity, what is the, especially the more than the complexity, granularity. Because if your need, and then you need to kind of really balance out your ROI. If you say that, hey, no, I want really the granular level of detail, and I have unlimited money and time, then I think low code is not for you. I mean, why? Just make the best, think of either your or main goal is to build a wall of, let's say, 10 by 10, and you want to do it with the grains, which you can give any shape, round corner and everything, where you say that I can actually build the wall. It's going to be straight, flat with 5 blocks. And I have the ready-made blocks. I can do it like in 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes, right? But the thing is, if you want a curve in between, no, I can't do that. If you want to do that, I can go with the smaller bricks, smaller brick. And at one point, it's a low code, doesn't make sense. Now it is so small brick, you go with the traditional coding. Okay, that's how actually I put it. But actually, having said that, I think there is an extremely very compelling reason for a lot of businesses that low code does make sense. Because, although I know that when we talk business, we actually talk about the CX kind of people, because these are the people who make the decision about the dollar spending, right? But it is actually touched, let's say, go one layer below that, okay? And sometimes the push comes from the below, and when the CEO and CTO actually kind of bound to take the decision. When actually and they are getting smarter, they are getting more intelligent, they are getting the knowledge and know-how about the power of low code. Especially think about a IT manager. His job is that kind of really putting the DevOps and now these low code guys are saying, with just one click of the button, and it's all cloud-based, I'm getting the application available. And he was, man, are you kidding me? I mean, this used to take me like a month or maybe a few weeks. And you are saying that you just development. I want to try this. Similarly, more than that, actually, where it really touches is the business. For the first, and I'm telling you from my personal experience, actually, in last couple of years. Who actually use the application? Think about this. And guys, if anyone have, a question, ask me. I really want everyone to hear this my personal experience on that. And it is about the business people. When I say business, the business user community. Okay. What typically, these director level, VP level, CIO level make, based on their intelligence and everything, they actually make some decision. They say, we like Oracle, we like Salesforce, we like this, and they make the decision and they say that, okay, 2024, we are going to roll this out to the entire company. Many of the people would say, great job, awesome, congratulations. But there are a lot of unheard voices. These people are just kind of doing their job 9 to 5 from the software, which is kind of superimposed on their head. They actually just click 2 or 3 buttons. 1, 2, 3, and actually they're not getting any value out of that. And they're still behind the scene, they are doing things in the Excel sheet. And then just submit it there just to kind of really just be compliant in the company policy, or because their boss is going to be angry, why you're not using the Salesforce. For the first time with the low code platform, their voices can be heard. They said, okay, hold on. We are not, no, forget about this big elephant. Tell me what your problem is. Do you care about, you come in the morning, you check your email, you look at the workflow process, and you need to approve a process based on some parameter. What if I build just that application? I said, man, it's impossible. My management will never spend the dollar just for my job, what I do 9 to 5. But with the low code, it's kind of what Chris was talking about, developer citizen. It's not, we are not telling him that we will develop. You know what? We have something new, amazing thing. You can develop your own application. Don't worry about it. Here is the thing. You know what your problem is in your life, in your day-to-day business life. Why don't, and you say, are you kidding me? Can I really do this? Yes, low code can actually, maybe you cannot really do this. With a little bit of assistance and learning curve, it is possible. And that's where I see the low code platform has a game changer equation, really touching to the people where it really matters. All these applications, where it matters. the majority of the users are in this business community, not really people at the top level. Yes, they have to make the decision because there is no other better alternate. For the first time, low code is an alternate, and it's an amazing, interesting alternate.
Fantastic.
Very interesting perspective from both of you. And I
Fantastic.
like the fact that, you know, this is something that can be used at a lower level and at a very cost-effective, you know, manner. And if this is what it is, it's going to impact. If the lower level gets impacted, they are getting benefited out of it. I think in the run, it's kind of helping the business.
It
Yeah,
is,
Chris.
and if I can add to Jitu's point in the way that I experienced, I come from a healthcare background in insurance, and one of the things that I see as foundationally compelling is the potential to add life to legacy core systems. When we discussed the big, you know, the big decision that can be made, in the fact that low code can run in parallel to those major decisions, but in small and medium businesses, they have, through acquisitions, they may have bought 3 or 4 different companies, different databases, you know, Excel over here, you know, we all have seen that. And once at core, when I keep using that accelerating term, and what Jitu just talked about, their ability to, all of a sudden, you added life to a legacy system, you got that CEO's conversation. And once again, it's really important. We call it hunting license. We don't need this. I don't need the CEO to pull the trigger. That's the last thing I need. What I want is for him to allow me to have interviews with those director level down below to what Jitu just said, a sponsored conversation for me to aggregate that information, go back to the C-suite to say, these are our findings, and this is how it attaches to the things that we discussed. These are the 5 use cases. We can put them in order. Quick wins, maybe 1 in 9 weeks, maybe 1 in 3-4 months. But by the time you get to the 3rd use case, you're in the 2nd year. You're integrated, organically integrated yourself into someone's digital transformation strategy, where they don't make a move without it. And so I just wanted to add to Jitu's point, which was a great one.
I know you like to share your perspective?
So I have a quick question, Jitubhai, and to Chris's point. So I'm the least technologist in this panel, so please pardon me if this is a very naive and a very stupid question. But in any case, I'm going to ask it anyway. So the reason, what I'm understanding from this conversation is that there is a scenic route, generally speaking, a company will take or an enterprise will take, because the engineers will go deep and, you know, like you say, they'll take every curve, they'll see every scene. But low code is a shortcut. Is my understanding correct? Because that shortcut will only take you to a certain place. It can obviously not take care of everything, but if it shortcuts a few of the things inside an enterprise, the routing or its workings become more seamless, I suppose. Is that the correct understanding?
Okay, so maybe I'll take this question. I would not call a shortcut for few reasons. Number one is the shortcut term itself has a negativity associated. If I really, when Toyota put all those plants and automation, someone would have called it a shortcut. But do you think that the cars are somehow less quality? They are used. I won't really use, I say automation, something which you are doing repeatedly. I mean, the people you might have hired 20 years back in Java or Python, they are writing a recursion program. Come on, after 15 years, people are still doing the same thing again and again. Why there is not just one-liner for that code? Why a new engineer graduate from the college, again he's writing a 20-page of code? It's been written 100, 1,000, or maybe 1 million times it has been written by a lot of coders before you. So at least that piece, don't write it again. You think of the innovation. There is a business problem, and you can solve that by actually compartmentalizing, componentizing of the things which are actually done. Low code is actually giving you a mechanism to actually box those repeatable things, and you can actually use them. It's just a smart and I would say technology way. I won't really call this as a shortcut. But having said that, I don't want to claim And I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, I'm pretty sure you cannot solve all the problem of the technology problem with the low code. It's not a solution to everything, but a lot of things, it makes sense. Why you want to take a long route of writing the code from scratch, where I can guarantee that you can actually do that in a few weeks. It has been done with a lot of people, and we have compartmentized it.
Okay, that makes sense.
What I would add is, and we haven't spoken, I mentioned it, we haven't talked about data. We haven't talked about the fact that it starts adding structure to unstructured data. Because getting to what Jitu talked about, this is the front door, because they don't even know the next questions to ask. One of the things that I talked to the CEO is, okay, you've connected your form, your customer questionnaire. Okay, now you're taking all this information, and what are you doing with that data? Are you in insurance? Cross-selling is always a big part of it. All of a sudden, you have cross-marketing efforts for targeting campaigns because you started aggregating this data from the beginning. So I agree with you too. I try to say accelerant and not a shortcut, but it's just and one of the benefits of being an accelerant and shorten that time is you're gathering actionable data to make business decisions a lot quicker. And that's I just want to add that to one of the benefits of going low code. Doesn't fix everything, but it can send you down a path of asking additional questions. And on top of that, you start adding analytics. So it's foundational in its offering. And a lot of these applications with low code technology assist those in marketing. When you start gathering that data, and you start having, now you're starting to have what I call highly intelligent marketing campaigns, highly niche marketing campaigns for what you're able to gather. And marketing is one of the huge potential beneficiary of the output of the low code. We talked about what it does with developers, but in the end, where the rubber meets the road, what does it do? And when you have a marketing department who has all this data that you can aggregate from just a customer form, it adds, and then when the things that come to your mind as far as the vision now can be quantitative.
Perfect. I think there are a couple of questions that have come through. Jitu or Chris?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're in the chat. Okay,
very interesting questions, actually.
Okay, let me read, or maybe Chris, you can take. How well do low code? Yeah, you take it.
Okay. The question is, how well do low code, no code solutions integrate with existing legacy systems or other software tools commonly used in businesses? Fantastic question. Because a part of my due diligence is understanding who's on staff in the API development. Depending on the organization that it is. And so I'll give you an example. I have a customer that's a $3 billion insurance organization. They've grown over quite a few years. And before I could really discuss the full impact of what low code technology had, I had to have 3 hours of conversation with longtime developers within that organization. And so how easy, the ease of it is the level of how intimate the relationship is with the in-house development team. That's where the initial lifting is done. Because once the API is developed, that's why it's called low code, no code, because it's always going to be some initial coding and some initial lifting. But the tighter the relationship is, it can be very easy, depending on the amount and type of information you want to aggregate. But once again, a lot of these things are made to not fix everything immediately. Sometimes it's to ask the next question of how we continue to grow and get better. The second, do you want to weigh in on that, or go to?
I'll take the second question. How scalable are application built with low code or no code? The question asked by Shraddha. Are there limitations or consideration where it comes to scaling project? Yes. It actually depends which low code. The thing is, I know that we are actually talking about the low code platform in its generality. Like I can say, if I go many years back, there is one general word is coding, and then we talk about, are we talking about C, C++, Java, like that? So low code is a concept. Now, the scalability can be the issue if you pick the wrong platform, or you should be knowing when you make the decision, you should be looking at their roadmap, what they have. Everyone will be having, and it's a maturing thing right now. What we would be talking 3 years after today, maybe it will be water tested with a lot of industry and a lot of different type of businesses. Maybe someone is really good in the medical devices, someone is in the construction, manufacturing, automotive. People might actually really build their scale. But today, yes, there is a limitation, but you need to pick up, you need to make the decision by doing a little bit more of research, your own research, that what you are actually getting into. I mean, again, I don't want to make it, but we have spent like almost 3.5 years only in actually building this, thinking of lot of scalability. And I think this goes to the maybe next question also. We actually were in one of the use cases, we were actually able to build the enterprise level application without any coding. I mean, we will go with the assumption that you have the API already built, how you are fetching the data, but it is possible. But the question on this, the scalability, yes, there can be limits. There can be limits that how far you can go. But then again, as I mentioned earlier, you need to weigh the benefit versus your cost and time. If you are able to achieve something in 1/10 or 1/7 of the cost with what the problem you have in the hand, you can actually work with your vendor or in partnering with the low-code provider, the vendor or the partner in their roadmap. Hey, great job. In 2024, you really helped achieve our goals, reduce the life cycle of our project management by X amount of time. We are willing to invest with you, and if you do this, so it's still a evolving thing. There is no such platform today, at least to my knowledge, which is kind of really can replace or mimic or kind of really produce the scalable output a traditional coding can do. There is a limitation.
Fantastic. I'm taking notes as well. So this is good stuff. The next question referred to the fact that I mentioned marketing and output of low code, no code as an output. And they were asking how can low code, no code platforms foster collaboration between marketing teams and IT departments to ensure alignment with overall business goals? Fantastic question. And I guess I'll go through an anecdote with a customer, a past client, and started with the development of the website and customer questionnaires when it comes to on-taking and onboarding. When you have the ability to take this information, no matter what channel you deal in, that's nothing. What channels you touch your customers, the end users, is important. And low code can impact all omni-channel, no matter what the channel is. But the website specifically, all of a sudden you're gathering information. This place is coded, as Jitu said, where you can take this information from all these different sources and build a marketing campaign. Suppose you have a product launch. Suppose you're sitting back and you're selling automotive insurance, and now you want to get into homeowners. How do you sit back and sell more services to that particular client? How do you acquire new clients when Google is clamping down on what spam is? Highly specialized data and marketing, and that could be aggregated with the help of low-code technology. So now IT has all these data and these data lakes sitting all in these different places, all this information sitting in these different silos that marketing could use to get more customers and get more money out of the customers that you have and start to build moats around your account. Because acquisition is important, but retention is more important. And that's what I would offer as a beachhead for my conversations with the head of marketing. I would look at what their data is, where they're getting it from, where they would like to get it from, and what the competitors are doing. I would look at their tech stack and what they have, and that's the start of it, because Jitu mentioned it. This stuff requires a lot of lifting on the front end. You cannot do this without having an intimate relationship with the client. Intimate. I use that word purposefully and regularly. You have to know, because customers don't know. They're so busy trying to put out fires, they don't realize you may have a water hose. and they don't even know how to use the water. So sometimes, so you have to roll your sleeves up, get involved with the customer, and as Jitu mentioned, and Sachin as well, understand what your business problems are. What is your strategy? What is the mission statement of your company? What are your initiatives for the year? And start there.
Fantastic. I hope the question is answered. Any follow-up question on that?
I think, yeah, there is one more question. How secure are the LCNC platforms, and how to make sure security is not compromised? I think this is a very, very important question, I would say. And again, it goes there are multi-security, and this is something IT before you buy or adopt a low-code platform, this is something you should be actually looking at, because security these days, the more we are going the AI and cloud-based, it has to be evaluated. And typically the securities are actually looked at 3-layer. Some is like in your own firewall, but okay, that's already in place. But you would be exposing your APIs and data, are how they are actually consumed to produce the output back from the low code. They need to be secure. So it goes from platform to platform. Some and they can be graded. You can actually do your you should, this is the question you should be asking. And there are compliance certificates actually, so you should be even asking that, are you compliant? Maybe even checking what level of the basic security. I know the very basic is auth 2, if I don't want to be technical here, but are they kind of everything is actually contained within the security walls. So yeah, that is something. There is no standard answer to that, but LCNC platform typically, any good moderate to good are secure enough. I can tell you from my experience, but there are always exposure. But having said that, that level of risk of the security is almost equal with your traditional coding as well. It's not different. What you should be just looking at is that how how they are containerizing it, how they are actually consuming your API information. Typically, how you consume that also depends that how much you are actually exposing your in-house data to the low code. In many cases, you don't need to, because this is just a tool. It is going to produce a application for you. Application is going to be hosted in your own environment, and it is pretty secure. So I won't really call this a completely big red flag, but you can't really just go kind of unattended towards this part. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would agree.
Jito, I would completely agree. It's about the same in most of the modern applications, whether they are the way they're designed, the way they are deployed, because it's not just the NC kind of platforms, but in general everything, right? And especially with these kinds of platforms, the way we have it today is like properly containerized into the cloud, where it is under a VPC or under some firewall or some guard, and you're only accessing data which is kind of allowed to be accessed by other applications. If you're not doing that kind of principle right, anyway you have a risk of exposing your data, right? So probably applies to kind of every application that we build in that sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. We haven't touched on on-prem versus off-prem, but I think that was a great.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't, perhaps.
Yeah. But that's a continued conversation with that, with the security and the fact that the future-proof nature of low-code technology, and you have to be secure to do that. Some of the platforms I enjoy have version controls, because when you have citizen development, as we call it, or democratized development, IT still needs to have control over it for some of those very reasons. Everyone doesn't need to have access to everything, and these platforms are catching up with that to support the demands of an enterprise level application.
We have one more question. Chris, you want to take this?
Sure. Let's see here. There we go. between speed and customization user code considering pre-built templates. That's a very good question. It's kind of tricky. It's because if someone was to come to me and ask what it is, in a very non-technical way, I say a lot of low code is the use of pre-built templates. When you take away the $2 words and all the sexiness is open a kimono, it's shorthand, it's template based. The most mundane approach to low code technology is taking a form, a manual form, uploading it, taking those fields, creating fields from that document, and making it fields for data. That's what it gets down to. And once you have that field created, let's say you have customer information, where they live, some financial information down below, and some additional information, and parts of that. So in this one form, you've broken it down, you created a template, but you've broken it down, made it modular into different components. Now they can be used as a building block for something else. And so templates are good, but I would offer it as modular building blocks of data. So yeah, template is good, but it's very limited. That's where the structure to unstructured. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just add to this a little bit. There could be a trade-off. Okay, but as I mentioned, there is most of the low-code platform, there is a little bit of learning curve. Okay, you will learn those tricks, like when the first time you actually really learned the any coding, and then that, hey, there is a shortcut to if else loop, or maybe there are so when you are doing the templatize, okay, you can actually use the templatize, you will increase the speed, but you want to put the customization, you want to put your own flavor. What you will do, maybe for the first time it will take more time, but then your own asset can be reused. So the second time it will be even faster. So I would say you can do the customization to a very good extent. You can do the customization, and then you can actually really store them as your own template and reuse for the next application. But there would be some effort and learning curve in the beginning. But again, everything what I was saying, if I compare with the traditional coding, every time you are going to save the time. Every time you are going to have the benefit. Any more questions? Oh,
I think one more.
Okay, so I think I can take this. Someone is asking that what are the disadvantages? And it's interesting. People should know that I won't really call it disadvantages, or maybe if you are asking that language, there is the level of customizations are not as great as you can do with the traditional coding. Sometimes there can be integration complexity. In many times, it can be a performance issue as well. Okay, you have definitely learned. Okay, learning curve, we can beat that. Today's the way the low-code platform today is, it is hard to predict your long-term viability unless you really look at the roadmap. You pick any best of the best low-code platform in the market, you cannot really tell the problem you are going to actually get in 2025, or maybe some extremely complex problem of integrating or acquiring a new division, selling of some business, and then maybe there are, when you look into the business, there are like million type of different problems. Can you really solve everything? Where if someone asks me, I am going to use Python, Java, and all the traditional ones, which are more proven, I have more confidence of saying that, yes, I can solve every problem, but it is going to cost you millions of dollars. So it is hard for me or anyone, even if someone is actually claiming that, I would actually doubt that person. That someone can guarantee that your low code will actually solve all the problem. It can solve most of the problem. So that's, it's a disadvantage. There is some black hole. It's a blind spot. There is some blind spot there. We don't know that, right? Okay. Then it can be when you are actually some of those features can be complex, where you will say that, okay, I achieved a lot of that, but to actually go beyond this level, Now my level of complexity is almost matching with my traditional coding. And then we have some other areas. The last one, if I would actually talk about the disadvantage, or maybe not, I'm using this word disadvantage because you put this word for me, is the change management. How your team work and collaborate. It's not the problem with the low code. It's people are not used to, like people, you have Jira and GitHub. There are a lot of collaboration tools which are proven in last decade. People don't know in a team how to collaborate with the low code. It's a new thing. So some of the time, like one of the person in the IT manager, some solution architect will learn, he will become the champion. But the thing is, he will work mostly in the isolation. He or she doesn't know how to collaborate with the other team member in the same way how a traditional coding he could collaborate. So I think that is a clear disadvantage with the low code as of today's date.
Fantastic.
All right. Do we have any more questions?
All right. We are at the top of the hour. Okay, yeah, Sachin, over to you.
Actually we are. So yeah, there's one more, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, Chris, you can take it.
What are the basic requirements of any platform to call it a low-code platform? I'm gonna offer this and ask for Jitu's help with regards to that, because that's all, we rarely come across that in the C-suite. Please, if you don't mind.
Okay, I will take it. Okay, so low code. See, there are two terms people usually use: LC and NC. Okay, NC is a little too ambitious term. Let me not call that. Although theoretically it is possible. Sometimes you might get lucky that you are actually not writing one line of code, but it's very, very rare. Okay, I will actually return with the low code. Low code is actually, if someone who is technically, logically technical enough. Okay, that means I understand the logic, but I don't know, and I'm not a software engineer. I didn't learn any coding in my life. I don't know Python, nothing, but I know what is if else. I know what a loop is. How I know what is the conditional workflow is. As long as I know that, someone will tell that, here is a thing. If you connect this wire to this wire, it is going to pull the data from the. So I will still need, there is a learning curve there, but I'm not going to write a traditional coding in that. That is the low code. I would still be writing some logic. I can actually maybe we are really running out of time. Otherwise, I could have shown you some example. Maybe I'll take a chance here, and you don't need to answer here. But I will just go with the assumption. If anyone has seen what is that? Scratch. Kids, the elementary kids, even the middle school, fourth grader, fifth grade, they do a visual type of coding. They make games from that. They scratch that, and there are blocks with visual. What do you call that? It's not a traditional coding. It's a low code. You would still be putting some kind of logical shape to that, but you are not writing a traditional, compiling the code, executing the code, and then testing and validating it. A lot of that is not going to be done. That is something I would qualify as low code. I hope it answered your question.
I didn't ask it, but it helped me. It helped me because one of the illustrations I give is there are words, and then it's adding grammar to the words to complete a sentence. And there's room for, and adding the grammar is what low code does, and allows for business savvy to touch coding. And that's what I took from what you just said. So well said, Jitu.
One last question for the panel. So how big is this market? If we are actually saying this is an easy thing for somebody who has some technology background, how big is this window? Because most of these companies, let's example Micron, let's say, for example, because I have a good relationship there, they're calling themselves a technology company themselves. So how does a person like me go and get business from them with this low code? Because what I see is that these companies have engineers or IT department that is on top of these things anyway, right? So how big is this window? Should we even venture there? What chance do we have?
If you don't mind, I'll stab first with regards to prospecting. A couple of things. There are a couple of options where you're going either direct, or so much of this environment is leveraging partnerships, right? And so sometimes you may need to find out what their needs are and attach what this is to something else they have going on and have it be bundled in. You know, I've had success having the low code platform be looked at as a utility inside of something bigger. That's one way of entry into a larger organization who has a well-established strategy. One of the things I tell them about low code technology is it means absolutely nothing if it requires you to change how you do business. Going back to the intimacy and the initial lifting, my job is to bring low code technology as simply as an accelerant and to fit into it. I talk in pictures. And so when I'm an existing IT team, I'm going to understand a few things. How they feel about buy versus build. This is important. It's an existential question about their view of it, right? Two, many of these organizations are going on to reorgs. They're going on to reorgs anyway because they're having that conversation, right? And so three, it could be, and this is where I'm prepared, where professional services comes into play. They love what you have. They want to do it, but they just don't have the manpower, right? They just don't have the FTEs. And so if in an optimal place, I have the ability to come in with professional services to come into a place like that and position myself as a project-based contract worker, for lack of a better term, to fit into these initiatives. That these are things, you know, just top of mind. This is just a general conversation. These are the avenues I've taken that, with greater understanding the customer, understand which adds the most value. So it's understanding the structure of the IT organization, their mentality, their culture. You know, because if they are a build it themselves scenario, this is magic. This is magic. You come in, the initial training. If they want to do that, you help them, get them going. They can self-sustain, and then you kind of wean off. They pay for some training, and you kind of wean off. And because you have an intimate understanding, because you got them going at first, they can call you for the next project, or it can be an ongoing thing where this is where I come in, where they have the base of the platform and they want to get as much juice out the squeeze as possible. That's where customer success comes into play. Because with software, you don't want churn. So you better start developing and implementing those use cases as quickly as possible to get them on there for the continued expansion, right? So listen, you and I can have a conversation about an hour and a half on this. I look forward to perhaps having a continued conversation and learning from you as well, because I'm very excited about these. But these are the things that I've done and the approaches I've had and the type of conversations the way I've gotten conversations going. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Perhaps we can have a continued conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Sachin, I don't know if we have enough time. I see two questions coming from Samir. So you let me know if you have a few minutes. I can take that question.
Yeah, we have a few minutes. I think they are in continuation with your thought about Scratch. So perhaps you can go ahead and answer those.
So the question which Samir is asking, I think, first of all, I think I think I might have done a damage by using a Scratch as an example, and I might have confused. I
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Well said.
I'll take there, because that's the closest example I could actually use that. But that's only to actually explain the difference between a traditional coding and low code. That's one of the ways. Sometimes people do with the workflow. They kind of connecting, if those the flow diagram kind of chart, you might have seen those. I can call that also a low code, but I use the Scratch as an example. Now, one thing which kind of is kind of the second question, where is that question? Yeah, can we say that developing LC requires more expertise than traditional development? Absolutely no. Absolutely no. And or maybe let me say this thing. In application in the low code, and again I'm putting a loosely example, so don't take exactly on the word which I'm saying. If a 5th grader, or let's say 6th grader, can actually do in the low code. Whereas typically I would say, I know these days kids are so smart, they can even write the Python programming. So, but I'm not taking those extreme smart kid. I'm taking the normal 5th grader. it is possible he can actually build a game or build an application in the low-code platform. Whereas to actually do this, you need at least a high school or sometimes a software engineering degree. Now, if someone is debating that, hey, still it is more complicated, more traditional development, then I think I need to really understand how. So the thing is actually really the whole point of actually going to the LCNC is focus more on your outcome, what actually you want to achieve. And this coding and everything, what people is, I would say, although kind of, I myself, I'm a computer graduate, I think I would have not even got whatever I learned in the first 10 years is completely redundant now. Any low code can actually do that. What I used to feel proud of developing a huge program, after 1 month, it is actually possible. The low code, some AI can be done in just maybe 10 minutes. I mean, really, it is belittled me completely. But the thing is, if you look in the real core, what does it really matter? Why we are actually feeling so great about that? I know the coding, because coding is just a tool. Really, the coding was for a mean to solve a business problem. People have, communities have problem, countries have problem. Your community in your house, you have a problem. You want to solve that problem by what? You have a hammer, you have a drilling machine, but then also you have a coding. But hold on, what is this coding? Now we actually simplify that. Here is a low code. Use this as a tool to solve the problem. LCNC is just a simplified version of the what people make a kind of monster out of something which is very complicated. Yes, that is still there. I have it, with all due respect to all the coding languages out there, there is a much simplified version which can be used as a tool or trick to solve your problem. That's all NC is all about.
Yeah, so I think that was great insight, Jitu, on this.
Yes.
Samir actually has a question on complexity of building the actual platform. So Samir, to answer your question, building the LC platform is as complicated as building a new traditional application.
Okay.
Building a traditional application, it's like, yeah. So it's about building any framework that we would build. So it involves all those complexities that you may want to build into your, and how customizable you want to make your LC platform. So it's about making it that.
This is a personal question. This is a personal question to me.
Exactly.
Building using the tool is very easy, but building the tool is very difficult.
Yeah.
So basically, what you are doing when you are writing just 3 words behind the scene, I'm running an engine which is actually producing maybe 10,000 lines of code.
Right.
Yes, building something like this is a very complex problem.
Yeah. So it is as complicated.
Sorry, I think I misunderstood your question earlier.
Exactly. So I think it is as complicated as building, any traditional application which is highly customizable, where you could just make a one-liner change in the configuration file and it just gets reflected. So, it's kind of a step ahead than that, I would say, where you're also compiling and converting it into a very, manageable code.
It's very complex.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you cannot do that. People are, I mean, you should, but I would want, and I would actually, you should know the reality. It is a very complex problem to solve.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. I think we're already running out of time, but let's see if we have any questions. No, I think we are good with all the questions. Perfect. Any closing notes from you, Jitu or Chris?
No, I would say that, what the discussion we are having today, believe it or not, it's something you can tell after a few years that you were really ahead of the majority of the world out there. Okay, it's happening as we are speaking. Low code, the concept, even if it's, I would say, 2 or 3 year old, we are completely at the beginning stage of that. If this would become a norm after a few years, and you can actually pat on your back that, this is something which we had as a discussion we attended. I mean, I can feel proud of that. I was part of the panelist of something. This is something low code I feel very passionate about. Guys, this is real. Low code is out there. Try it, explore it, and I think you can even benefit from it.
Absolutely, I would agree. I would add my thoughts, but let's see if Chris has anything to say about it.
No, what he said. We're on the beachhead of a major and seismic and sustainable evolution in technology. Technology, by definition, highlights the inefficiencies that exist. And from my perspective, when you put that kind of development horsepower into a business owner's hand, now you've brought the wall down between the business owner and IT. And when you and for so much of this is the next question, but it's here, it's coming, and it will be a market requirement if you plan on having an agile organization. There's an old saying that we're not far away from having the first billion-dollar company with only 3 people in it. And low code and Gen AI are a big part of that conversation. And so congratulations to everyone here. Thank you to Josh Software for allowing me to be a part of it. Thank you, Jitsu. I look forward to continue this relationship. And if anyone has any questions about having these type of conversations with non-technical individuals, having someone who may want to help with regards to the development of use cases, you haven't gotten there yet, but you're ready to ask questions of the customers, along with Josh Software. I look forward to trying to add value to that conversation.
Great. Fantastic. No, I think this is real. This is what is happening. This is the next gen. But I'm talking to all my prospects and customers. They are very excited about it. And, just with the thought of, building something which could have taken 4 months, doing it in about, 2 weeks, that is just very exciting for everyone. And, it's, as we say, it may not apply to every single case, but it applies to, most of the cases. I would put it in 80-20 rule. It applies to most of the cases, about 80% cases where you're not really looking forward to a very complicated kind of build, where you're not looking forward to have everything built from scratch in your ownership, but you want to have something going quickly and, you want to turn it around to the business and start earning out of that, investment. I think that's where it's making a punch, as I would say. So I think this is great. And in the same, line, Josh has built a platform, which is Zeal LCAP, what we call it. It's low-code application platform, which is, in collaboration what we have built with eMachine Labs. And, that is going big into the market now. So I think this is a very exciting time for all of us. And I think that's the way to go forward. With that, having said that, thank you so much, Krish and Jitu, for joining this. And thank you, everyone, for, getting on this wonderful conversation.
Well, thank you for your time, everyone. Thank you. I learned a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Chris, Sachin, and Jitu, it was an absolute pleasure having the 3 of you on board for this. We look forward, of course, like Chris said, to speak much more in the future and kind of capitalize on some synergies between the 3 of us. But again, to end it, thank you, the 3 of you. It was great. And hopefully we can speak ahead.
Fantastic.
Perfect. Fantastic. Thanks, Kaushik and team. Looking forward to more of such conversations.